A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. Hello, and welcome back to Oversharing. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Dr. Naomi Bernstein.
So great to be back in person. We probably do one in-person recording
A year
when you're in town.
This is it.
Very exciting. Welcome back to New York.
Yeah, this is really, I love being here. I love having this conversation in real life. Manhattan's awesome. My walk to the office, I feel like you don't like Manhattan. I like it for like 2 days.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it, and then I like to leave.
Yeah.
But I feel almost like
it's always
moving. You know, like you talk about like child's mind. Like, it's so funny. I remember I was here a couple of years ago, and you know that fountain in LaGuardia, and it's like all the colors. And there was this little girl there, and she was just so excited about the fountain, and she was trying to get her parents to look at the fountain, and they were kind of like, okay, like you're annoying.
Right.
And it was just this that's how I sometimes feel when I come to New York. I'm like, there's so much stimulation and all these cool people, and everybody's like attractive and stylish and weird, and there's just so much that I have this like child's mind.
Yeah.
And then people like you are like, dude.
No, it's because you're here for 2 days and you're not like jaded. And it's actually it's like you're a child here. It's very cute. I mean, I told this story on this podcast before, but like when you were here, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, and we were walking to your hotel, which was like on the Upper West Side. We're walking through Times Square, and you are like taking everyone's flyer. You were like interacting with every crazy person on the street trying to talk to you. And I'm like, you're in danger.
Yes.
like
Stop touching that.
Right.
Germs.
No, but it's nice. Like I'm saying, it turns you into like me. I don't live here anymore. I live in the suburbs, but after living here 10 years, I'm just like a very nasty bitch.
Yeah. And it's funny because I just think in general, I went to this super cool like underground spa thing last night with Becky, our sister.
Yeah.
And we were just talking in general about trust, because she's a lawyer, so she like doesn't really believe anybody.
Right.
And I was talking about couples therapy and how when people come in for couples therapy, like they kind of want, as a psychologist, sometimes for you to be a lie detector. Like people think as a psychologist, and maybe some are, that you can like figure out who's telling the truth.
Right. Well, I always think about that when you think about like the craziest person you know and like what their therapist thinks about them.
Right.
I'm like, are you like feeding into this?
Yes.
Or are you like, we all know like one person who's just like living on a different planet who has a therapist, and you're like, is your therapist telling you that you're right? Or is your therapist like trying to course correct?
Yeah,
like,
they're probably slowly working on it, like chipping away at the thing, because some people can't handle too much. But I'm not a good lie detector. Like that's not my area of expertise. I'm very much like, I believe what you say. I mean, there's a couple things that I was telling her as a couples therapist that I know are like tells in relationships that someone's lying. But for the most part, that's why I'm like, can't stay here for more than 2 days, because I'd probably die.
Well, you would lose your like innocent sense of wonder.
That's
why people like don't like to raise their kids here, because it's like you become like pretty hardened, I think.
I could see. Don't go there. Don't touch that. Don't talk to them. Like,
but also quick. So it's like positives and negatives.
Street
with the
smart,
program.
Street smart. Yeah,
for sure.
So
how do your kids like the city? They're here.
They're, I think, similar to me. Like, I think it scares them a little.
Right.
Because like they'll always be like, a lot of people smoke cigarettes.
And like, I think cigarettes in Texas?
I think they think that's like, bad. And like it means, and I always try to tell them, I'm like, we talk about addiction. I'm like, no, some people try something and then they get addicted and they can't stop. And they're like, well, why do they do it if it's going to kill? Like, they also don't get that like one cigarette's not going to kill you.
You tell them that?
Like they like
you guys can have a couple, just don't have it every day.
So they're like, I don't understand. It's going to kill them. So like that type of thing. And they think it smells bad and is dirty.
It does smell bad.
So they don't love that. But I think they like the excitement and the action. But then probably after 2 days, they'll be happy to come to your house and, sprawl out and have some peace and quiet.
Yeah, less cigarettes out there.
Yeah.
You know.
But that is a hard thing with kids where you're like, this thing is bad, cigarettes kill you. And then, you know, like a friend comes over, they see someone smoking and it's like, oh my God, we've got to stop them.
They're living a lie. Yeah, right. Or something.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're working through it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to have you back. Yeah. You're going to come stay with us. We're very excited.
So excited for that.
I know.
Yeah.
We're going to get all our intensive bonding in.
Intensive bonding, and then I'll see you in a year. That's enough for me.
There we go. That's enough.
All right. Yes. Let's do it.
Love it. Okay. Let's get into our show. If you have a voicemail that you want to leave us, you can call our voicemail number at 646-363-6294. Also, if you want to subscribe, we have a great subscription episode out now where we talk to a listener. We do those a lot. If you are a listener and you would like to come on and speak to us in person, get yourself a little therapy session for free. The cost is that everyone else will hear it who's a paid subscriber. But free monetarily to you. Write in, say you want to come on. We will like fully get into it. It's great. We get to like ask questions.
My favorite.
Yes. And we did this on You Up with a couple. And, you know, we'll speak to a couple. If you and your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, anyone like want to partner or whatever it is, want to hash out a problem and you have a real life couples therapist and someone who just likes to talk shit, come on. Or even like, honestly, it doesn't have to be a couple. Like if you're having a problem with your sister and you feel like we can help you out. If you have a problem with your friend and you're both willing to like come on and hash it out. Any kind of relationship, fucking coworker, whatever. We'll take it all.
Yes.
We'll play HR. Yeah, write in. We'll have you on the subscription episode. We really get into it. And it's really fun. And also, if you're a subscriber, you get all the episodes ad-free a day early. And this is a good episode to watch on YouTube because we're in person. So even
see
better.
The outfits. You can see the whole.
You can see our feet if you've always been wondering what they look like. More Dr. Naomi's. So head to our YouTube to watch this there, or just listen regularly and rate, review, and subscribe. And also any room in your therapy groups.
Yes, there's always room. So NaomiBernstein.com. Hit me up. I will match you with a group. We're doing some fun challenges, some challenging challenges I told you last week about people coming in, getting feedback from the group about how they feel about that person, their connection. Right. It's like doing the hard stuff that you want to do in real life, but doing it with a therapist in a super supportive, warm. These groups I'm always astonished by, I mean, right now, men are very welcome, and actually the women love having a male in the group, but we don't have any right now.
Have you had?
Zero.
In the past?
Yes, we have, and it's great. And I think we love getting that new perspective, but right now it's all women, which is also nice. It's like that very safe, like feminine energy, but men are welcome, and it could be really great. You know, like the whole point of these groups is like you're practicing real life in this very safe space, and then you do the hard things, and then you go out into your life and you do them there. So
there should be a class in school.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
Like a group discussion.
Starting like in 6th grade, middle school.
Seriously. I mean, so many people who write in, myself included, I think, have problems like, it's what you were saying with the group that you were just talking about, have problems like saying their issue with someone, like directly. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be great if that was like taught to us?
It should be, it's way, I see what my kids are doing in school, and that would be way more useful than like exponent and please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Exactly. Like, I don't even remember what that means.
Right.
Is it the planets?
Right. No, that's order of operations.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, and I like did well in school, so
right.
I don't even.
Totally. And how great would it be to have like conflict resolution and how to have a difficult conversation and all the things. So come learn it now. It's never too late.
Yeah. Check it out.
NaomiBernstein.com.
NaomiBernstein.com. Let's get into our emails. I will read our first one.
All right, let's do it.
Hi, Dr. Naomi and Jordana. Love the pod and y'all's banter. I've listened from the very beginning and learned so much. I'm hoping you can help me with a delicate situation. 6 months ago, my dad passed away from cancer. I was extremely close to him and visited my parents, who live 4 hours away, often in the months and weeks leading up to his death. I am also close to my mom and talk to her several times a week. Since my dad passed, she brings up his passing every single time we talk. Sometimes it's a positive memory about my dad or something we miss, which I don't mind talking about, but often it's some horrible memory from the very end of his cancer battle that my mom is stuck on and ends up sobbing over. I was there with her the last few weeks. I have awful images ingrained in my mind from the end, and that's not how I want to remember my dad. I don't want to think about those things and have buried them in my mind, but often it feels like that's all my mom can focus on. When I've tried to redirect these negative conversations, she sort of guilt trips me, saying that I'm the only one who understands and who she can talk to. I do have a sister, but I'm the oldest and the only one who saw the very end, so it feels like I'm the default sounding board for my mom. I'm doubly frustrated because I have a toddler and a newborn, and I really can't take more negativity. It's not that I don't miss my dad, but I can't dwell on these thoughts all day or I will spiral and not be able to focus on my kids. When I have tried to suggest that she try talking to a therapist or seeking out a support group, she immediately shuts me down, saying, how could that possibly help? She also is one to keep family matters private, so I'm not sure she would even open up to someone else. Help. How can I support my mom but not bear the weight of her emotions? Between losing my dad and having a new baby, I'm already drowning in my own emotions. As much as I love my mom, I selfishly can't add someone else's problems to the mix right now. Thank you for any insight you may have.
Yeah. Oh, I feel so bad for her. This is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And it does feel in that moment like you're shutting someone down.
Right. Because you're like in self-preservation mode, but then you seem like very cold and like, I'm sure she feels a lot of guilt because like it feels like she's all her mom has.
Right. This is really hard. It's you know, the tough part is, or the good part, I guess, is that she's open to talking about her dad, like the happy stuff and sharing memories and all that kind of thing. It's the traumatic piece, like the visualizations of the end of life, like that is the stuff that some people never get to.
Right.
Like, you know, you can talk about losing someone, but talking about that super heavy piece of like the brutal end of life experience, that's the part that is, I think, overwhelming her. I think that's the part that the mom probably doesn't feel like she could talk to anyone else about because it is so big and huge and heavy.
Right. And that's the part that like she can only take in small doses. Probably,
yeah. Or like right now. Yes. And I think so one thing I think is the sister, we've got to get the sister involved because
spread the
spread the pain.
Yeah.
I do think we have to get the sister involved because she wasn't there at the end of life, which on the one hand, it feels like, well, she didn't have to go through this, so maybe we should spare her. You know, like she didn't, it's good for, a lot of that is visual. You know, like a lot of that trauma is in seeing the traumatic thing. It's like PTSD, like that visual piece of, that gets seared into your memory. So it is nice that the sister, whatever you want to call it,
was spared that.
Yeah. But I think the secondary of the mom, like describing it to her, might bring her into the grief a little bit in a way where she can understand the gravity and the depth of what happened. But she's never going to have that visual.
Right.
Like even
like
if
the ones who, like the person who's writing
who was there.
Right.
Like the listener and the mom will forever have that. The sister's not going to have that. So maybe there is a fear of like, we don't want to traumatize her if she was spared from it in the beginning, but that might be a good person for the mom to go to with this. And maybe she can call her sister and tell her a little bit like, this is what I'm going through. You know, if you want to explain it the way that we just explained it around like that end of life stuff, that was really hard. Like I'm happy to talk about just the general sadness or the loss or the missing of him and, you know, good memories and all that. But like this piece, like if you could come in here, that would be helpful, and just call, maybe ask mom questions about it. So she's not even having to get her mom to like open up necessarily, that maybe the sister can, you know, jump in there.
So you're saying to kind of foist it onto the sister a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, as an option. And if she's not into it, I think she could just share with the sister what she's going through and see if she, you know, and that it would be helpful if mom had someone else to talk to,
right?
You know,
yeah,
and see how that goes. Because, yeah, a therapist would be great. A grief therapist this is what they do.
Like it's a little annoying, I think, when you're like, there's this very specific solution for this particular type of problem, and there's like a therapist. It's clearly like a therapist that could really help someone deal with this. and then the person is like completely resistant to that and won't even try it. But then like, then it becomes like, I would feel better about creating the boundary.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, I'm trying the therapist. In between sessions, I'm feeling so like it's like, to me, it's like if you're giving someone advice and they're not following it and then they're just like continuing to pour on you, I do think that it's okay at a certain point to be like, there's a very like proven and like helpful thing that to help people with this kind of thing. Like, how would it help? Like, it would help exactly like you like process and deal with the pain. Like that's literally exactly what it's for.
Right.
So like, I can help find you a good therapist, someone you like, someone you connect with. We can look into it together. I don't know if her mom doesn't want to pay for it. I could pay for a session or two to start you off or something like that. But I think to say if you say to someone, this is really upsetting me, I really can't hear this all the time, and then they just don't really care.
Yeah.
That's also like, I think that's like the other side of it. It's like for her mom, like she wants to care about her, but her mom clearly isn't really caring about how this is affecting her.
Yeah. I know. Grief is so hard. It's almost like it's so intense. Like it can make you a little selfish, like,
right.
I need. And she was the mom that was like living with him every day and like probably feeling that loss in a very different way. But I agree.
Or like I can do this like once a month we can go there or something. I don't know what it is.
No, or I honestly I think she could explain it in a way that's kind of like, I need to grieve this at my own pace also.
Right.
And like I'm not, and it sounds like, I mean, the way she describes it, she says like she's burying it, which for her, she probably needs to go to therapy and address, because that's,
but she's not making that anyone else's problem.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but I think she's got to deal, like, and she could say that to her, like, I am going to go to therapy, or I, hope to go to therapy so I can kind of get through this in my time, in my way, and deal with the hardest of the hard parts of this. I'm happy to share memories with you. I'm happy to go through, photo albums with you and talk about happy times. But that end of life stuff, like, I'm not ready for that yet. I need to go at my own pace. I have my own grief process. I agree.
Right.
It's like she can set that boundary by saying kind of like, I need to do my grief in my way.
Because she's hurting too. And I think you could say like, I'm happy to help you get the help that you need that doesn't involve me being like really upset all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't force someone. I keep thinking in my mind, it's almost like this really hard thing. It's like forcing someone to like come out before they're ready. It's kind of like, that's a process. It's a very intimate process that someone has to do in their own time when they are ready. Same thing with like verbalizing and rehashing a memory of the worst thing that ever happened to you, your biggest trauma in life. And she's like, oh, we're going to do this now. It's Tuesday. It's 12 o'clock. I feel like going there. We're going to go there.
Yeah. And it does seem like a little bit of like lacking of like protection for your child. Yeah. Like you would think you'd want to like ease I mean, obviously you have your own shit to deal with, your own grief to deal with, but I do think like there should be some element of like, I want to protect you from some. Yeah. I mean, people feel that about when a parent dies and the kids are young, but like, I think it's nice to like carry that over to like, I don't want you to be this to like ruin your life.
Totally. I feel like I see this a lot, this dynamic of like when a parent dies and there's adult children, and not always, but I think sometimes the spouse is so burdened by grief that they do get a little bit selfish in it, and they feel like to
be taken care of.
Yeah, to be taken care of, whether it's the way this mom wants to be taken care of, like I want to talk about like the heaviest of the heavy, or a lot of moms are just like, I need you to come over and like turn off the sink for me.
Right.
Like these little things that they're asking their adult children to do just because they kind of want someone there. And I feel for them, that is really hard. Suddenly you're all alone. And if your child has a partner, like,
Yeah. And I think that's okay within reason.
Yeah. Yeah. But this, even like, I'd rather her be calling her and saying, come over and help me turn the sink off than you need to go to the darkest place you've ever been in your life right now because I decided that that's when we're talking about it.
Right. And even with the coming out example, like that seems to at least be more about the other person than about you.
Right. Yeah, no, this is really hard. I think she should set boundaries and see if she could get help from the sister, because the sister did get to not see that.
It's true.
Which is nice for her. I'm sure she has the sister I'm sure has her own grief process, but there is something that just when you are there at the end,
I'm sure
kind of hurt.
And that's why it's probably good to have a trained professional who like can speak to you also in like the correct way about whatever.
It does sound like what she said. How is that going to help? That's like really frustrating. It's like it would help so that I don't have to do this.
Yes, it would help me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, I would just tell her I have my own grief process, and I can't be on your timeline. And if you're ready to go there, that's great. I think it would be great to go there with a therapist, but I would try like the sister thing first and see if she can just maybe put in some more phone time and kind of see if she can get her to open up to her a little bit.
I agree. Good plan. All right, let's do a Betchicist.
All right, I will read this. Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I have a situation. My best friend got engaged 3 years ago in Paris and took pre-wedding photos there. I got engaged last year, not in Paris, and this year I'm going on a trip to Paris with my fiance and my parents. We thought it would be a great opportunity to take our pre-wedding photos during this trip. Here's the problem. My friend was upset that I didn't ask her first to make sure she was okay with it before making this decision on my own. Hurtful things were said, but ultimately I decided not to take the photos there out of respect and didn't want to further sour the relationship. My fiance is upset with me because I didn't discuss this with him and made this decision for both of us. I wouldn't even want to go anyways, as it's ruined the whole thing, but financially we might not be able to take another trip to Europe for pre-wedding photos, as wedding planning is expensive. I still want to stay friends, but I can't help but feel disappointed in this situation. Why should it be first come, first serve? It's literally the world's most romantic city. I'd understand if it was some town no one's ever heard of, but Paris? Everything is fine now, but I'm hyper aware to make sure I don't copy things she does at her wedding for my wedding. Is she overreacting, or am I? A Betch that doesn't own Paris.
People really get crazy with this stuff over weddings. It's insane.
Insane.
I've heard people be like upset someone got the same ring shape as them. Like
there's like six shapes.
Literally 6 shapes. Like you don't own the shape.
Right.
Or like the same dress company or the same, like, it's so funny, this idea of like it has to be like your unique situation. It's like the whole wedding industry is like made to have for everyone to have like think they need the same stupid shit, even like pre-wedding photos. Like no one even needs that.
Yes. It sounds maddening. It's like you all need the same thing, but it needs to be slightly different, but not too different, because then it's like weird.
Right. But not like to the same, because then you're copying someone. And yeah, I would tell that friend to fuck off. That's like crazy.
I kind of wish this was a triggered, because I am triggered by this friend
saying that they're upset.
It's Paris. Like
the city of romance. Right.
You own like taking photos in Paris is now off the table. And she was even thinking of taking a secondary trip to a different European city to avoid the city that her friend took her.
I don't know why it has to be in Europe. Also,
I agree. This is crazy. Like, I could see if it was the exact same pose in the exact same place, maybe that would be a little weird. But like, there's lots of places in Paris that you could take photos. This to me,
even if it's the exact same place in front of the Eiffel Tower, that's where everyone takes. I've seen a million engagement pictures at the Eiffel Tower. Like, get over it.
Right, get over it. Yeah, I'm agree.
Trying to
even
think
if
of, like,
it is the same place.
I'm trying to think of like a tactful way of like, if your friend came to you and she was like, Naomi, like I got married in Turks and Caicos, like already, like it's upsetting me that you didn't ask me before you booked the destination. Like, what would, like, I don't even know what the response would be.
Honestly, I do find this triggering. Like, I think there's nothing more to say than like, I guess you could be curious and kind of say like, what do you think will happen if we both have engagement, what's pre-wedding photos? That's like engagement photos?
I guess it's like engagement pictures.
Okay.
I think. That seems like what that
after
would be.
You get engaged,
you use them for your like wedding website, I guess.
Yeah, engagement photos. I would think that's the same thing.
I don't know, the marketing of your wedding.
Right. Okay. So
marketing pictures.
Kind of like, what is your fear about, like, what are you worried about in terms of, do you want me to put a disclaimer? Like, I wouldn't say this,
Tell
but like, I
people
kind of feel like, do you
right.
want me to put a disclaimer? She did it first.
Right. Again, like, if you want someone not to copy you, pick a less basic place.
Yeah, true.
If you want to have a very unique ring, get like a different stone in a weird shape.
Right.
Like,
but then someone will be like, oh, they did that, whatever. I don't know.
Right. I think I would just say, like, listen, I hear what you're saying. I think it's a little irrational. People take pictures in Paris all the time.
Yes.
I'm sorry if you feel like this is something that was really special to your wedding, but like, I've had this idea independent of you, and like, it's a great idea. That's why I'm doing it too. And like, if you're upset by that, I'm sorry, but I'm still going to do it. I wouldn't have said I'm not going to do it. I kind of agree with the fiance.
Yeah, I could see why the fiance's upset. He probably feels really controlled by this friend. Right. His whole, like, are they not even going to Paris anymore?
They were like already, no, they're going to Paris. They're going with his fiance and the parents. And now he probably has to tell his parents that, like, oh, we're not going to do the photo shoot anymore because her friend did it 3 years ago.
It's crazy. You could take photos anywhere you want. I think you should go back, honestly. I mean, it's up to you. If this is sticking, which it might with me, and say what you said. I do think this is a little irrational. Paris is one of the most romantic places in the world. Lots of people want to do engagement photos there. We've decided that we're going to go ahead with it.
Right.
And I hope you can understand that. If there's something I could do within that realm, I could wear a different color. I could go to a different spot under the Eiffel Tower. Like, this is a place that people do this. I think it's a little irrational. I am thinking, like, what is this thing about copying?
I think it's particular when it comes to weddings. I think it's like there's this feeling for many people, and I think it's indicative of like the way they see a wedding day as like their one big chance to like express themselves, or their one big day for it to be about them.
Yeah.
And so there's this feeling of like any sort of like thing that's done that someone else is doing or done after them is like taking away from like the specialness of this day that's sort of built up to be like this huge moment in your life.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not 1950. You can have many, like there's many opportunities for women to have like accomplishments and great moments and great things that happen in their life. I think it's like an issue with the way you're viewing your wedding day, and maybe like a little bit about the way you view your life. Is like, this is like the pinnacle of the most we both, I'm sure, loved our wedding days, but I'm not like, and now it's all downhill. Like never going to be about me again. Like I'm never going to be in the spotlight again. Or like, if that's important to you. I don't know.
Yeah. But I do think it's I get it with weddings. I think it's like totally magnified with weddings, but I think there is, and we've talked about this before, sort of this trap of like needing to be special, like strive to be average, like you make fun of it, but in some ways, like there's this kind of delusion around specialness, and the wedding is like your one opportunity to be as delusional as possible because everyone's like your little minions that are like, you're so special.
Right.
Yay. So like it all comes to a head in that moment, but like it happens. I see it with like sixth graders.
Well, that makes more sense there because they're like trying to figure out their identity.
Right. Well, it's like someone copies you. It's like, great. They liked it.
Right.
Like they'll do an art project at school and they'll be like, so-and-so copied me. I'm kind of like, or she'll be like, oh, I really like decorating Halloween boxes, or Valentine's boxes, whatever. She's like, oh, I really wanted to do a Taylor Swift box, but like so-and-so's doing a Taylor Swift box. I'm like, she doesn't own Taylor Swift. Like, if you want to do a Taylor Swift box, do a Taylor Swift box. Like, it's flattering. It's a great idea. You don't own it, but there is this, it starts young. Like you need to be special and different. And like, sometimes that feels great. And sometimes like.
Right. Or like, here's the thing. I think it's also like, you're not that special or different.
Right.
If you were, like, no one else would be doing it because it'd be like a little weird.
Yeah. And those kids are actually awesome. The ones that are like doing like, a bloody vampire, with like, teeth and blood, like it's just like, yeah, if you want to be different, you're going to be weird. It's like you want to be in this special little spot where you're like not a weirdo.
Yeah. Take your pictures like in some weird like alley. Where no one else would want to take them. No one's going to copy you.
Little rat droppings in the backdrop. Yeah. So I agree. Like there's a delusion of being special that's just like, And again, mindfulness. If you're out there and you're doing this with your friends in your life, like with outfits or weddings or like, 30th birthdays or trips with your partner or whatever, like chill. It's okay. You're you. You don't have to be special to be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is insane. You cannot call anything.
Yeah. Paris.
Even that one who wrote in about the woman copying her entire baby shower and like nursery and like other thing.
Yeah.
Even part of me, when I think back on that email, I'm like, who cares? Like, sure, it was a pretty basic theme.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's okay. You don't, it's flattering. It is. It's a delusion. It's like, I need to be better. It's like a competitive.
I need to be unique. Right?
We're not unique. There's like however many billions of people if an alien came down from another planet to Earth, they would think we all looked like monkeys.
Right.
Like, can you tell the difference between like monkey A and monkey B? No. Right. Like, we're all pretty much the same. We just like
live in a delusion that we're not.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right.